Boston College needs to make a change on the defensive side of the ball, and it's not at a position that you may expect. I'll explain what that means on today's show.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. I've been covering Boston College for over a decade. If you want Boston College news, analysis, and details, you are in the right place. Locked On Boston College is a free daily Boston College podcast available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We're continuing our prep for the Pitt game. I'm going to talk about the state of BC Nation. Where are BC fans at right now, and is there hope? We'll talk about that. I'm going to give you some defensive and offensive thoughts going into this game. I'm going to look at what the offensive line should look like and give you two different scenarios if certain things happen. And a big change I think needs to be made. I'll explain what that is in just a moment. Today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. So when you're sitting at 1-3, you can't sit and think that everything is going correct. Even if, as Bill said, there's 5 or 6 plays each game that have decided a win versus a loss. There's been some other issues that have been going on that I think are bigger than a few plays. And they may make that gap of what you can win and what you can't win by even smaller. So I think one of the big things that BC needs to consider this weekend is a change at nickelback. That slot cornerback spot has been really, really challenging. Cameron Martinez had a very, very, very tough game against Cal. He had multiple penalties. I think he was targeted 7 times or 8 times and let up 5 catches, and then the other ones were pass interference. You love him. He's a great character player for BC. You hoped that this transfer would be something that worked out, and I'm not here to bash him. I'm just saying if you want to look at spots on this roster that you may think, okay, this is a spot we need to look at, this might be the place to go. It's a very important position. Obviously, the corner, that corner spot works a lot on tight ends. They work a lot on slot receivers. They have a very important position. It's a very important position. And if you look at the roster, you may say to yourself, there's not a lot of answers. And you may be right. Maybe that Cameron Martinez is your answer at this point because you just don't have the guys. But I think it's worth looking at. What I'm saying here is TJ Green played a little bit of nickelback. At some point during that Cal game, I forget where it was, Martinez was struggling so much, we saw Green go in, TJ Green go in. And I thought that was the right move. Now, he's a true freshman. That's tough. He's smaller too. I think he's like 5'10", but he's a track star, so he's fast enough to hold his own against many of the slot receivers. What he does against tight ends, you're just going to have to give him some safety help there. But I'm willing to think that this is a spot you need to look at because your corners have struggled up and down. And at some point, you're starting to see a lot of these freshmen play. You've seen Ashton Cunningham and Marcellus Townsend and Green. If your older players are not working, you don't need to leave them out there just because they're older players. I think that's, at the beginning of the year, sure. But we're now into week 5. These freshmen have been around enough. They're going to make mistakes. I get it. I'm not saying that they're going to be perfect. But if you have a player like Martinez who's really struggling out there, then maybe this is the chance to try something different. I think when you're playing against a team like Pitt, going to TJ Green would be a really good spot to start. Maybe you get a little bit more of an improved play there, and you find you're getting more valuable reps for a guy that you're slotting in to play more and more in the future. If he's playing okay, that's great because then you can continue to develop him and get him to that spot. Now, you could do other things. I'm sure there's other guys on your roster that can play nickelback, but it seems like Green is the guy that they're getting closest to now. You're seeing him on the 2 deep. You're seeing him out there. Maybe he's the answer. Maybe he's someone you want to give a try to because you don't want to have a big liability out there, and Martinez is just having a hard time. I think it'd be best for all of them. Now, speaking of Green, another change that I'm hoping that BC sticks with this weekend is keeping Green on kick returns. I thought he looked really good against Cal on kick returns. You know, he was getting to the 30, 35-yard line pretty consistently. It seemed at points, too, like he was pretty close to breaking a few. He never did, but I thought he looked better than Bo McCormick. And, you know, they're both freshmen. They're both, you know, learning the game. And this isn't an attack on McCormick. Maybe he'll eventually get there. But just watching what TJ Green did on kick returns showed me that, hey, this is a guy that, you know, he played track in high school. He's fast. He's very fast. And he's seeing things very well as a kick returner. You need, at this point with BC, you're 1-3. Your offense is sputtered out. You need as many sparks as you can get. And to me, the difference between Green and McCormick right now at this point in their careers, watching Green out there, he looks like a spark. Like he sparked your offense. Like you get, you know, that wave of momentum because he's getting the ball out further than you expect. McCormick has been safe. He hasn't really done much in terms of the kick return game. So I'm good. I'm good with seeing TJ Green out there. I think he's a guy, you know, last year it was Jordan McDonald. There was, you know, you get to later in the season, you know, we're only on week 5, or 6 total, but you get him out there, you know, from practice and he's improving. He might be one of those guys that we're seeing that's starting to find himself and will have a bigger role. You know, last year, this 2025 recruiting class was a big deal for these defensive backs. Like, they got a ton of defensive backs. I keep forgetting some of these guys. I was looking at the roster the other day. I was like, Ray Sykes, I totally forgot they had him. I haven't seen much of him because, you know, he's not on the 2 deep. But, you know, they got him. You got Marcus Upton you haven't seen much of, and Najita Sankala. There's a bunch of guys that they brought in that secondary that just haven't had a chance to play. Green, Cunningham, and Townsend are 3 that seem to me the most ready now. And you can use, I mean, you could use Cunningham. I think I remember seeing Cunningham doing kick returns too during camp. You know, these are speedy players. You can get them out there. Get a boost on special teams. That's a great thing to have. This team, it just feels right now that you've had some explosive. You just need a few more. Like you had the Turbo Richards big play, but you could use an explosive on special teams, and there hasn't been any since week 1 on defense. Like you had that Bam Crouch interception. It'd be nice to get one there, but I'm saying like TJ Green, maybe he's that guy. Maybe he's going to be the one that helps open up a game for you. In a moment, I want to talk 2 more things. I want to talk about the offensive line and what it could and should look like. And I have some thoughts on how the defense and offense should look on Saturday. Just my perspective. I'll give you that in just a moment. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet. Put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel during baseball playoff season and NFL season. There's so many different things you can do. You can make cross sports parlays. Like you could go Red Sox money line with Drake May throwing over 200 yards, and then you could stack a few other things on top of that. That's how crazy you can get. And whether you're a casual fan or loving diving into stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get yourself started. This episode is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that make the neighborhood the neighborhood. These are the places that become an extension of home, whether it's a sports bar dedicated to your favorite fan base, or the spot with best wings in town for game day, or that beloved local chain that's been rooted in your community for years. These businesses are what bring people together. When businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. I love Shake Shack down by Boston College. Get myself a burger, fries, and a shake. I mean, if you can't make it to the game, what beats that? So check that out. It's the kind of place where you walk in, everyone knows your name, and it's the best place to get your food. Take this ad as an excuse to go support your favorite local spot and have yourself a day in the neighborhood. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square. See you in the neighborhood. This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black, and thank you to all of you who have made Locked On Boston College your first listen every day. And to my everydayers out there, thank you all who check this out every single day. I know it's not easy when BC's playing poorly, but I'm glad that you hit that go button and watch all of our shows on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, let's get into some things, other things I'm hoping for this weekend. On Saturday last week, was happily surprised with BC's offensive line. Now, the big news going into the game was that Jude Bowery was out. Now, if you were not at the game, Jude Bowery was there in street clothes. He was moving around fine. He was amping up the offensive line before the game. He was all over the place on the sidelines. I'm thinking he just seemed like he would be like getting ready to come back soon. Did not look like something catastrophic, but you never know with injuries. Sometimes you can't tell. But I want to tell you two things I think about when I look at that offensive line. One, I'm excited to see if Robert Smith plays again because I thought he was pretty good, especially in pass protection on Saturday. A true freshman that came completely out of nowhere. Now, you watched him during the summer. I don't even think he was with the backups. I think he was like a third string player. True freshmen, you don't normally see them playing their freshman year. Most times, most schools like to, put that red shirt on them, keep them off for a couple years until they're good and ready. But hey, credit to Robert Smith, who looked good. He was out there with Eric Doherty, and Eric's. They made a nice tandem out there. I think Lonergan had a great game in terms of just not getting hit. The run game was there. I wish they did it a little bit more. But I thought that the guards did well. Now, the big piece I'm thinking is that tackle spot. That's the spot that's got my eye. Now, you have two options of what's going to happen here. You're either going to get Jude Bowery back, and he will be your starting left tackle. He'll start over for Logan Taylor. Or you don't get Jude Bowery back, and you keep Kevin Klein and Logan Taylor out there. Now, if Bowery comes back, here's what I would love to see. You slot Bowery back at left tackle where he's comfortable, and you move Logan Taylor to right tackle. Mitch Wolf has been on our show a bunch, and we've talked a lot about this. Logan Taylor looks better as a tackle. The way he moves, the way his skill set works out, he just seems like a much more natural tackle, just observing him. And I would love to see him out there. So that for that to happen, unfortunately for Kevin Klein, that would mean he wouldn't play. Maybe you could use him as a sixth offensive lineman here and there, but I would think the best offensive line right now that you could put together would be with Smith and Doherty at guard, with Bowery and Logan Taylor at tackle, and Crowns at center. And hopefully Michael Crowns this time will not have four numbers. That was I don't think I've even brought that up yet. I don't know if you saw this at home, but I'm watching this side. I'm going on a side tangent here. When they were lining up and getting that offensive line going, he had I think it was like number 74. And that was definitely not Michael Crowns' number. And then I'm not even kidding you, Crowns changed his number 4 different times in this game, at least that I could count. And I don't believe any of them were his natural number. They just kept announcing it. And it was crazy because he didn't have a nameplate on. It was just a number. So I actually had to go over to the SID and be like, who's the center? Because I couldn't tell who it was. But it was Michael Crowns. It was the weirdest thing. I don't know what was going on with his uniform, but he was all over the place with different numbers. Would love to get an answer on what that was, but I don't know if you guys caught that at home. But what my point here, sorry, side tangent over. Logan Taylor should be a tackle. Keep Robert Smith out there with Doherty, and keep Crowns out there. And if Bowery can't go, then you keep Klein out there. That's my thought on the offensive line. I think what you're seeing There's a lot of people that don't, that are tough on Matt Applebaum, but if you were able to get a true freshman out there and had him ready, that's kind of an endorsement of your staff. I know some of you don't want to hear that, but I thought the group looked good, and I think that maybe they turned a corner. Finally, the offense and defense. I've been thinking about some things Mitch has said. Defensively, should BC continue to blitz? The True Media stat has them as the second highest blitz rate in all of college football, only behind Colorado State. They're the highest in P4. Now, as Mitch said on our show, when you blitz, it puts extra strain on your defense in your secondary. Your secondary is young. You have to play man. This puts a BC in a pickle every single time. Should they continue to be aggressive? And my answer is yes. I'm on the frame now that I think there's a better chance that the secondary starts to get better than the defensive line figuring things out and just being able to get pressure with 4. I thought Anye Nwisi looked pretty good in the game, and we've seen Favre Bate make a couple swipes, but they can't. I don't think they're winning their one-on-one battles. And in order to do that and to get pressure on your quarterback, you've got to be able to blitz. So I think the best option is that your guys in the secondary who have been around for a while are going to start to get better. So you got to start blitzing. You got to keep doing it, because otherwise any quarterback worth his lick is going to be able to stand back there and find his spots, because if he has all day in the world, these guys are eventually going to get open. So you got to get him off his spot. You got to blitz at this point, unless you start to find this one guy that's able to win those battles, but they haven't been able to find that yet. It's such a big problem, and hopefully BC can figure that piece out. Offensively, there's 2 pieces I think of that I would love to see on Saturday, and I think it's something that you guys have all said, is you got to open up your playbook. You can't just keep living on mesh rail and the spot passes, because defense are just waiting on it. As I said earlier this week, when they were running the mesh rail and with the halfback running the wheel route, you could see it clear as day from the press box. The Turbo would go out, he would swing out, and then the linebacker would just kind of hang here and wait for Lonigan to get fooled to throw it to him. And that, I think it was number 0, would just fly and hit and go right at Turbo. Now, sometimes it worked for BC, other times it didn't. They're getting wise to this play. You need to open it up more for everybody, for Lonigan, so he has a little bit more options out there, and for the offense in general, so that they're just not locked into an offense that's just very predictable. You don't want this offense to become predictable. You have an offensive guru as your head coach, a guy that has done this, and Will Long is kind of his mentee. He's not a mentee, but like his protege, running his system. Let him go. Tell him to get loose with it. BC's been great with scripted plays, but once it gets past that, they got to be able to continue that momentum, to continue so that things don't get stagnant. Because as we said earlier, 13 points in the second half in the last 3 games. That's not going to win you many games. So you got to be able to fix that. This weekend, I hope that Long figures out a way to let things get a little bit more loose for Dylan Lonigan in that offense, because they need to be able to do that. Now, in our final segment, been hearing a lot from you folks, and I want to talk about the state of BC football right now. My thoughts on that in just a moment. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Picks Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make every drive feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. And with all-wheel drive, standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda. Move and be moved. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stand, there's nothing like it. But let's be real, actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkpoint. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Is the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. When you see is what you get. Now, let me tell you a story from this past week. You all know I cover in the press box every game but one. I cover BC, but I'm also a BC fan at heart. And I'm taking my family for one game. I'm going to the UConn game. I looked at the BC site and saw the prices and went, yeah, no, not going to do that. I checked out Game Time. I had to find, because I'm bringing my in-laws, I'm bringing my parents, I had to find 9 tickets. I went on Game Time, put in UConn BC, put in 9 tickets. That showed it all everywhere. Saw the prices with fees included. Clicked it. It was a third of what I would have paid at Boston, on the school site. So it was a slam dunk, and I was done in like 10 minutes. Perfect, easy to use. I don't have time to be looking around everywhere. Game Time made that so much easier for me. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black, and thank you all so much who have made us your first listen every single day. And if you're looking for a second listen, check out Locked On ACC with Kenton Gibbs and Alex Dono. They're talking all things ACC. And it's been a crazy week for this conference. With basketball right around the corner, you want to hear what they have to say about all of that. Now, I wanted to take a step back here from the news and the takes on this team itself, and just talk to you, Boston College fans out there, about where things are at. It has not been an easy season for all of you. I know. It's been 15, we're going on 20 years-ish, almost, it was 18 years since BC has really had a good team. And you were hoping, going into the season, as many of us were, that after watching last year, you saw Bill O'Brien make this program look like much more competitive. They won 7 games. Even with losing a quarterback, they figured out some things and were able to have a fun and exciting season, even if the record didn't dictate there was much change. You saw it with your eyes and saw that things had changed. Now you're into this season, and as I said, going into this, September was supposed to be a 3-1, maybe even a 4-0 season for you to get really into the meat of the schedule. You sit at 1-3. Horribly disappointing, because those 3 losses were all small mistakes that ended up piling up and killing you. And that there's no excuse for that, right? So what needs to turn around here to get the fans back? Because I hear you. I understand what you're saying. I see that many of you don't want to talk about BC. It's too depressing right now. It's like, feels like you're in Groundhog's Day all over again. I get it. BC has a chance this weekend to take that first step. They're gonna have to win some of you guys back, and I get this. They're gonna have to do some things that maybe we aren't expecting. Beating Pitt would be a first step. Winning on the road when you've only won 1 game on the road, that would be a first step. Then you build from there. Things will be very different for BC if 2 things could happen. They will go on the road and silence that storyline for a little bit, and then end a storyline that has been going on for 17 years, and beat Clemson. I'm not in the mind frame that they can do that yet. But maybe, it's college football. Weird things happen. Maybe you get Amari Jackson back and Jude Bowery and Davion Crouch as things start to click a little bit more. A 3-3 BC team, if they could beat Clemson with a win against Clemson, as bad as Clemson has played, would be a huge boost for morale. Look, all I really want for this season is for BC to make it out in one piece. Making a bowl game would be huge, because I honestly am the most exciting thing that I'm looking at is not the transfer portal, not the recruiting, is Father Jack. I am dying to see what vision he has for BC athletics. Is he going to really, from everything I've heard, winning means a lot to him. It's not, it's all great to hear about the development of the whole athlete, and believe me, I think that's important too. But I want to see winning. I think every BC fan is like, yeah, it's great that we have all these great athletes and they're all, pillars in the community and all that is great. But what about winning too? I'm waiting to see Father Jack bring that vision, specifically financially, back to BC. So I think what I would love to see is two things. For BC to get through the season in one piece and just get to that next offseason. Father Leahy is retiring in June. We all know how he feels, and yes, everyone says he supports BC athletics, and I'm sure he does. But we need a new vision for BC athletics. So let's see if BC can pull off a little magic, and then see if Father Jack can bring some magic back to BC, because that's where I'm thinking things are going to start. That's where things are going to need to change. You got to be able, for all of you out there that are like, why is this going in cycles? And look, I'm not going to bash basketball right now, but I don't have the utmost faith that things are going to be any different than they have been in any other year. But BC needs, from the top down, cleansing. Get this thing fixed. You need to be able to fix all that from the top down. So I think for folks that are like, this is never going to end, my hope is that Father Jack will help that end. And hopefully these small issues that are piling up for BC football will, with some Bill O'Brien magic, hopefully they'll get those fixed as well. So that was just my last thought. On tomorrow's show, Mitch will be on. We'll make our predictions. I don't know if we're going to be picking Pitt, but we'll tell you then. Thank you all for following. Follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. You can check me out on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky. I'm on every social media app that you have. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. If you it does show me how much you appreciate the show or like it and want to support our work by just hitting the like button. Just do it. It does help. Thank you all, and I'll see you again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.